Mr. Dratnos.
Yo.
And Dorki, good morning.
Yo.
What I wanted to do today, because I was super bored, and we did a tier list yesterday, and I was like, what's a tier list I haven't seen people do? I actually looked on YouTube, and it seems like such a banger. People have done this for seasonal affixes, which I think is another interesting conversation, but I haven't seen people do this since they reworked affixes recently, and I just want to give this as a space for us, and I think especially Dorki, who's probably done the most Mythic Plus to... Actually did a fair amount of Mythic Plus this season, but obviously way less. And kind of just talk about the new affixes and rank them if possible from best to worst case scenario. I think we're all team... I don't know if affixes are good for the game, right? In general. Like maybe next expansion they're gone and they go in another direction, and that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, I think I'm probably a little bit more positive on the idea of affixes than most high-end key people, but even I think they should be toned
I
down
don't
relative
think that's
to-
entirely true.
relative
I
to
think
this.
I think most high-end players are like somewhat pro affixes, just not these affixes. I swear we've talked about this before.
We've talked about affixes.
The
We've
beginning of the
never...
expansion or something.
Yeah, the beginning of the expansion, and then they nerfed a lot of them since then and removed them as well, and didn't actually change a few of them that were more problematic. But it also gives us a chance to kind of give feedback onto how people feel about some of the new affixes in general. Alrighty. Do any of you guys have one you want to start with?
None in particular.
All right, I'm just going to stop scrolling in 3, 2, 1. All right, Spiteful, much better than it used to be, right? I don't even know exactly what they changed about it. I just know that it... Oh, wait, am I... Oh, someone said F. Is my stream effing?
No, they're putting it in F
they're
tier.
saying F because they think it fucking sucks. Oh, yeah, let's also... let's get ahead of the whole, like, all affixes in F tier. I kind of wanted to talk about that right away. Like, I know some people are like, rotate seasonals, remove Fort and Tyran, make it kiss curse affixes, make it positive affixes, no affixes at all. Like, I know there's a lot of... I mean, I've had a lot of conversations about all of those things. What we're doing today is acknowledging that the affixes are most likely not going to get removed or majorly changed before the end of the expansion. And we're kind of just dealing with these ones as they are right now. So giving feedback onto whether they're good or bad and discussing the power level between them. So for example, you might think all affixes are bad. So us putting an affix in S tier, meaning this is the best affix, doesn't mean that this is like fucking awesome, because you would have to ask yourself, even an S tier affix, does it benefit the game that it is in the game at all? And I don't know. You would have to... That can be something we discuss, but people would disagree on that. So, but this is just 4 affixes existing, determining the better ones between the affixes.
So we're not counting for difficulty.
I think difficulty has to be part
Difficulty
of
is, of course, yeah. Like for example, if one of them is like way more difficult than the others, I think most people would actually. That's kind of a good place to start. Is it just the easier affixes to deal with are better? Like, I don't know, or is it more nuanced than that? Like, this one's actually cool
I think
design.
I think it's definitely more nuanced than that, because there's annoyance too. Like, I think Spiteful is actually a great example of that. Spiteful is an easy affix, but the annoyance level is pretty high up there.
I think it also depends on your role. Like,
Yeah.
So Spiteful to me seems like what Necrotic was for tanks, and kind of what
For melee.
Yeah, and kind of what Quaking Interrupts were for ranged and healers, where affixes that incentivize you to AFK are just bad. Like, Necrotic made you AFK as a tank on every pull at some point, most pulls, and having to stop casting is like one of the worst mechanics in the game. I think melee at a certain key level, just having to run away from the pack when it dies, there's like more nuanced ways to deal with it, but that just seems really bad. And I've played a decent amount of melee, but they also nerfed it, right? Like, it's not as lethal as it used to be.
Yeah, the nerf was really good to this, like, because it was just so silly that it would just one-shot you above a certain key level in previous expansions. So I think that nerf brings it for me from like, I don't know, F or D, probably up to like B.
Holy B, okay.
I mean, like, what other affixes are going high, right? Like,
yeah.
Unless we're just going to be using the
that's
F
the
tier
nuance.
here, right?
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, because like, when we're looking at affixes subjectively, we're kind of putting them all in F tier.
You are,
yeah, I mean, like,
you are using this list
something
of 5 ranks to relatively discuss the... Oh, maybe we should rename the tiers, because I can already see chat like getting really, really frustrated. Like, they're gonna see an affix in general go into like S tier or something, and then they're just gonna be like, "You're fucking stupid." There's like, so like maybe the tiers should be like, "This is the worst shit ever" at the bottom. The top is, passable, Like, is that like the best version of an affix? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
also
some renames could be good. You could literally just put F at the top and then like, what's the letter after F? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Could do it that way.
Yeah, that'd be a first.
So the literal best ranking is F.
Yeah, just F,
Yeah.
G, H, I, J.
Yeah. Just for the sake of normal distribution.
Yeah. I am gonna have a take where I do think one of these affixes would survive a purge if I did a purge.
Ooh, okay. Trying to think about that right now.
Okay. This is actually already such a good idea because nothing actually changes, but people they're immediately less hostile just because of the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
It conditions their brain.
Okay. All right. So you think this one's a solid H?
Yeah.
The Spiteful. Well, Dorki, it seems like you kind of think it's more annoying than that. I mean, I hate Spiteful.
Yeah, I think it's complicated because I think the idea of Spiteful is supposed to be fun. Like, I think they're trying to make it like Reaping, where it's not that impactful and, you know, you kind of just AoE down some shitters. The problem is, for melees specifically, it is like supremely bad.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really affect range as much, and, you know, for the tank it's whatever, for the healer it's whatever, unless you're a holy paladin. So it's like a hard one. I don't even know.
I think they took way
guess
too
it's
long to
relative.
nerf this too. I think it's one of the prime examples. We talked about this in the TGP with like bosses that are finely designed at a 15 to a 20, but just start scaling. Typically bosses with ads you have to swap to and kill. They just, at a certain point, they scale out of control. Spiteful had that problem for way too long where I think it was like a 23 or a 24, maybe a 22, right around those ranges where Spiteful actually just started to one-shot you if you didn't have a personal. And like the way it targets you was really bad. Now it doesn't do nearly as much damage, but I still think the fact that it keeps you in combat is really obnoxious.
Oh, dude, you do Vortex Pinnacle and the dragon dot just stays on you instead of going away because Spitefuls are spawning.
Yeah, the combat part is so bad.
Yeah, that was Oh, now it's actual stream F, it looks like.
Oh, man. Yeah. I would say, I mean, it's weird, right? Because like it totally depends on your perspective. If you're a tank or a healer and all you care about is what you do, which it's interesting. I think we're trying to task ourselves in this call to not do that. But almost all players, it is totally reasonable for them to really only care about things that affect them, right? In almost all aspects of the game. So if you're a tank or a healer, you're probably like, yo, this is a fucking push week. This is the shit. And if you're a melee, you're like, this is absolutely fucking horrible.
But that's why it's sort of a problem, though, because like every affix is like that. Well, actually, maybe one of them might not be, but almost every single affix is currently like that, where like, you know, at least one of the roles is like, fucking, this is terrible.
What do you think?
We're counting difficulty too, right?
Difficulty matters. Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple ways we could do this. We could also name, some people in chat are saying name the top one push week, but then you're just going to name all the easy affixes, but there are easy affixes that are also turbo annoying. So we kind of need to clarify what we're actually ranking exactly. And I think what we're doing is kind of a mix of all of it. If we do that, people will definitely not relate to it. And they'll be like, you know, how can the thing that we're logging in to push? So the only time you're logging in to play Mythic Plus is to do this affix, and yet it's being ranked low because it's annoying. You know, it's like you're kind of mixing up two different things.
Yeah, and like it is not good game design for there to be 1 week that you log into play, right? So do you penalize those affixes or all the other ones?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you definitely penalize the ones that make you not want to log in. That's definitely the bigger problem. But they've nerfed and removed a lot of those. There are still some.
Well, so that's another complicated one too, because like I've heard a lot of more casual players who probably wouldn't want to log in for some of these affixes just because they're like really fucking annoying to the point where they don't want to play. But you know, for our high-end players like us, obviously, it's like, all right, this is a push week. We're playing this week.
You're like blowing my mind right now. I actually, do you think? Okay, so there's like, what are the different sections?
I don't think Spiteful is one of those. I think that's like Incorporeal and Afflicted type stuff where it's like, man, I don't want to go into Group Finder.
Yeah.
If I can't handle this affix.
Specifically. Yeah.
So what are the groups of people that you think exist in like the Mythic Plus zeitgeist? Is it like there's the high key pushers, the people who like aspire to be high key pushers, you know, like those like 22 to 24 range things, pugs. And then there's like the people who do Mythic Plus for gear. And what are the sections of people under that? You mentioned casual players don't log in. I wonder which one of those sections of people actually cares about the affixes, and sometimes they just log in game and don't care, you know? Like, how many people are there like that? Got to be some dads that log in and they're doing Mythic Plus, whether that shit's Sanguine, Bolstering, or they don't care, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're like a 1 to 3 key a week kind of gamer as well, it's just hard for an affix to really int that as much as if you're playing 20 keys in a week.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like remember that time where I was talking about how like I joined this pub group and they actually enjoyed Thundering. They thought it was cool, and they loved what was that affix the first one in Shadowlands?
Prideful.
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 Yeah. I remember
Prideful
they
was
were like,
so good in plus 15s. Like I remember
yeah, they
loving
thought it
doing
was
my
like the
weeklies
coolest shit
that
ever.
season. It was really fun.
Prideful is it's very simply if you did high keys where you were forced to ignore it and try to skip it in a very unintuitive way, you hated it, and if you did it at a lower key where it made sense to kill and gave you a cool power bonus, it was fun. It's like no more complicated than that, I think, from what I've heard. But that's another talk for another day. So I don't know. I think we should do a combination of, because I think there's a difference. If there is a push weak key or a push weak affix that is actually pretty easy to deal with and not super annoying, I think that's better and in a higher tier than an affix that is a push weak key but has a lot of flaws, right? So we're not
That's how I
necessarily
sort of see it too. Yeah.
so we're not rating it necessarily by design or by how easy or hard they are. It's like a combination of them, which is why, you know, maybe renaming the tiers like push weak at the top. The one under that would be like push weak, but they're annoying. But I don't know. That's like too specific. I feel like we should just use the list. People will get mad about it, and we'll just fucking make it work.
Yeah.
All right, we're slamming this. This is not changing, and we're just going from here. So Dratnos goes with H. I think it would be I if everyone was a melee. If everyone had to deal with Spiteful the same way melee had to deal with it, it would be the worst, I think. Like, I think this would just make everyone hate Mythic Plus. Like, if this was necrotic for tanks and whatever for healers, like, I think everyone would fucking hate this. But because it only affects melee and because people currently push with it, I feel like it can't go lower than H because, like, everyone else kind of just doesn't care.
Yeah, I'll let you guys set the tone so that we can gauge from there.
Yeah, we can go
because like like obviously from my tank perspective and pushing high keys, this is like the best affix. Well, one of the best affixes because
I think we want some room below Spiteful is all. Like I don't think it's doing great or anything.
I like that.
I want there to be a little bit of air beneath it.
Okay, on to Volcanic then. This is kind of historically the most push weeks that have happened over the last like 5 years. A large amount of them have included Volcanic. So I think most people prefer it, but also I've heard ranged find this very annoying. Is that true?
Yeah, this is literally the opposite of Spiteful. Like as a caster, this is arguably one of the worst affixes. It's like supremely bad and annoying as fuck. But aside from that, it's nothing.
Well, so then wouldn't you use the same argument and put it in H? Or is it possible that I don't know if it's that. Do you think Volcanic for ranged is as bad as Spiteful is for melee gameplay wise? There's no fucking way, right?
It's pretty bad when you're constantly having to cancel cast. Because I mean, it goes back into like the whole range versus melee thing, right? Like the difficulty of range is min-maxing your uptime, and for melees it's like similar. Well, I mean, they're the same shit, just like different ways around it.
But like, if it spawns under you, you just move out of it and then you stop. As a melee, you just stop what you're doing and run forever. Like, you can kind of like kite it around the pack, but it's dangerous. I don't know. What do you think, Dratnos?
I think it is less bad for range than Spiteful is for melee. It does affect your group more this season because your group is more ranged this season than it is melee.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I think that I think it is a less impactful affix overall.
Yep. It definitely is.
I don't actually think it's a great affix or anything though. Like I think it for the longest time Volcanic was like the easiest affix on the schedule, which made people like it because it was easy, but I don't think it's like super fun or anything. I like G for it, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a solid G.
Whatever it is, it's above Spiteful for sure.
Yeah, one above Spiteful.
What is this affix? This is one of the newer ones, right? It's either Afflicted or Incorporeal. It looks like
I think that one's Afflicted.
Afflicted.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one I think is okay. When I saw this, so for people who like are maybe watching this later and haven't like fully kept up with Mythic Plus, this one was added this season alongside Incorporeal and Entangled, and they removed some very annoying affixes that people did not like playing. So they're new affixes, so they're like people had to kind of learn how to deal with them, but they all kind of, besides Entangled, they share a similar thing where just some classes interact with it and the others don't, like labeled a healer affix or things like that. When I was practicing these in PTR, I did not mind doing these at all. Is Afflicted the one you dispel and it goes away?
Yeah.
So like, just as a tank, just like taking like your curse dispel for a key and just slamming one of those if the some classes can deal with it really easily. Like in a pug scenario, it seemed not that bad and kind of not awful. Like I have a somewhat positive opinion of Afflicted in general, but I know that other roles fucking hate this, so I would just need more context.
Yeah, I think this one, high level players like it. and lower level players or pugs absolutely hate it. That's what I've noticed.
Oh, it's a coordination affix. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There are some frustrating points about this as well. One thing I don't like about it is that it sort of punishes the classes that already don't have a lot of M+ utility. Stuff like hunters, DKs, warriors. These are classes that you think about as needing some help in M+, and Afflicted Week showing up on your keys is not help. That is no invites in the group finder at all.
Well, hold on. Here's an interesting question, Bo. If, let's say, the meta next season was DPS warrior, rogue, and hunter,
Okay.
do you think these classes would get invited during this week?
Yes.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yes. 100% yes.
It's still like it is harder for them to get an invite, all else being equal, on this week.
I don't think people think about that when they're inviting in their groups. I don't think a lot of groups are like, oh, well, it's this specific week, so this thing changed. I think there's like a meta comp you want, and that's the end. That's just the fucking end. Like, that is what you go for, and you find a way to make it work. Because you can find a way to make everything work, but you're only really willing to do that for the ones you think are going to be the best anyway.
I feel like when it's like Incorporeal Week, there will be groups that are looking, or Afflicted Week, there will be groups that are looking for like dispellers, like hybrids that can dispel.
Well, I'm just curious, like, say, like, do Pharaohs and Boomkins get invited on this week specifically this season?
I think so, yeah. Like, I think that it does move, and it's not only the invites, it's also like the experience of playing in those keys gets a lot.
Okay.
Like, if you are somebody who is trying to pug some keys and you don't have a dispel, it can be such a demoralizing affix because you're just sitting there with like no agency over whether this affix gets handled well or not.
I can kind of see you being wrong about that. I just assumed, like, let's say you're a warrior right now, and you feel like, man, I just don't get invited to Mythic Plus. I assume that's consistent across all weeks and not just something that exists on Afflicted. Like, it's just like there is a meta, and maybe it's never been worse than it is right now with the whole God comp thing, but maybe it's more relevant in other seasons where the game's a bit more balanced. But I just assumed if you're not in that, like, the community's meta, it's just kind of bricked anyway, and just a lot of people are just looking for specific classes. But you're saying that pretty frequently it's more affix specific. I don't
think it's like a huge. I just think that it moves the needle a little bit, right? Like, it's like 30% less invites than you otherwise would get, which is already a low base rate.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely trust. A lot of people in chat are also giving personal anecdotes and being like, oh yeah, it's definitely worse. So so when I heard someone complain about Afflicted, they were like, it really sucks because certain classes can't deal with it at all. And then I started thinking, how many affixes exist where certain classes can't deal with it at all? And it's not many, right? I guess you could argue Sanguine. Like, on some classes, you have Ring of Peace or Typhoon or Wing Buffet or something to really help you with Sanguine. And some classes just don't have those things. So that made me kind of think of Afflicted, where you can be in a Sanguine group and kind of feel like you can't really help. Or Raging, I guess, like an Enraged Dispel, yeah. And I felt like it was kind of like that. Do you think Afflicted is like a little worse than those, or do you think it's pretty similar in that way?
Well, I mean, the nice thing about Afflicted is your healer can just solo it if they're good. So you always have that out, but not a lot of groups are going to do that. I mean, if you insta-dispel, right? Like, if you have like 2 seconds to dispel the first one, and then you get to dispel the second one before it comes off. But I don't know. I feel like it's less common that you'll end up in a group that handles Afflicted really poorly, but when you do, you really feel it.
Oh, very true.
Another thing too is like it actually interferes with certain encounters. Like, it was something that I didn't really think about going into this season, but it actually like heavily impacts some encounters where it might just be like too much on the brain, or like it requires too many globals, or you require your dispel, like say first boss of Freehold, or Nofarian's Lair of a Worm boss. It's definitely very tricky whenever you have to be dispelling in like very specific scenarios.
Well, it's also, I think there's certain things in the game that are going to be more difficult when you go down the key level average and the skill level average, is making use of your whole toolkit and dealing with like the whole, like, at a top level, it's just a healer affix. You're kind of crazy in a lot of scenarios if, like, let's just say you're a DPS druid and you could talent in your class tree to get a curse dispel, but you normally don't do that, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that. The healer will just do these afflicteds. This healer you've never played before with on a 20 or whatever. Like, that's insane, right? Like, you would want to make sure you have the ability to deal with that. And I think maybe in a lot of cases, the community's reliance on like, oh, this thing is just a healer affix, or this is going to be handled by this person. It feels bad being a class that doesn't even have the option to spec into one of those things, so you can make like lower level runs more consistent. So that's why
actually, like in my group specifically, I never take the spell for Afflicted, and Drogo almost never dispels that shit. So it's actually just usually like goop it.
Yeah, I mean the god comp this season has like
Yeah,
off
yeah.
spells on
Correct,
every
yeah.
player, which makes this affix
Yeah, I
feel
can't imagine
pretty
how
easy.
bad would it be if we had a non whatever dispel DPS comp.
All right, so where do you think this goes then? Because like you like it at a high level, right? It's like not hard to deal with. It's like adds a little flavor into what you're doing. You know, you normally wouldn't have to worry about dispels, but now it's like something to it's like an extra tool you have to learn to be good at. But then at a low level, you could think that this is just fucking so bad. Every group you zone into, it just feels like you're wasting time. What do you guys think?
I would vote for H or I.
I think it'll be on similar to Spiteful because accounting for difficulty too. Like on a high key, this is a push weak affix. It's pretty negligible. So speaking for a higher end player, I would put it at H.
Works for me.
All right, we'll do H. And then I've seen I was paying attention to chat too. Some people actually said that they liked the idea of putting it like top tier, like this is like their favorite affix. And then I've seen people say that this is like the worst. So H in general, just based on chat, giving hopefully some kind of balance to the levels of gameplay, have put it somewhere in the middle. So, and then we have this one's we have bursting. I think bursting is gonna people's opinion of this would totally change if Mythic Plus, if priests were not in the comp and were able to mass dispel this season. And even with priests going forward, having mass dispel on a 2-minute cooldown, certainly you probably pull big around your 2 minutes anyway. So like I still think for massive target counts you'll have this, but I don't know. That's one class in the game that can deal with this, right? So and I guess revival, I guess, yeah. What do you guys think?
You just dwarf it off too, and
Yeah.
so. Alright, Dratnos, you go first.
No. After you.
All right, fine. All right. I know lower end players are gonna hate this, but this has to be the best affix out of the bunch. There's no other affix that like equally fucks everyone. Like this affix doesn't really even have any like special requirements behind it, aside from maybe a Shadow Priest. But like even then, back when Shadow Priest was not meta, you were still playing without a priest.
So I don't even think it's
the easiest
thing.
affix.
So
it's easily the easiest affix.
I think the amount of healers that are really good in this game is not a big number, and I think what chat is envisioning when they're seeing bursting is they're picturing themselves in a key where they do a pull and they know going into the pull they're definitely going to die to the bursting at the end of the pull, and then that happens and they hate this affix. And I the thing is it's like pretty healable damage, right? It used to be a lot worse, but
yeah, I mean you literally just heal it. It's not that crazy.
Well, the thing is that high-end groups have like 4 different defense layers against this that low-end groups don't have, right? Like we have dwarfs, we have MDs, we have health pots and health stones and immunities that will be used intelligently, and we have healers that can heal,
that we actually
right?
press. Yeah.
Right, like those 4 things, any 2 of them make the affix pretty good, and having all 4 of them makes it trivial. But if you're in a pug, you're just sitting there with like, okay, I'm going to press a defensive against this set of bursting. Okay, I'm going to die to this next one, right?
I feel like we need a healer to give their opinion here.
The problem is you have to have a healer that actually enjoys healing. Healing is like a job where like they don't want to heal. They just want to be able to heal whenever it's like something that's manageable. So the problem is like when you're pugging and the stacks are just rolling, it's getting really fucking high. It suddenly becomes miserable.
Yeah. Dorki out here slandering healers. I mean, we actually have
it's the worst, man. Like I swear to God, it's like, oh man, I have to heal. Wow, dude. Drogo is actually bad funny. Yesterday, Drogo was like, man, I can't play the game. And Goop's like, bro, you are playing the game. You're a healer and you're healing nonstop.
We had this conversation with Growl and JB and a lot of people in the past, and it's like some seasons make you heal a lot less, and what's fun about healing in Mythic Plus is healing as much as you can, or I guess as little as you can to keep everyone alive, and then like just blasting damage basically. But then they will also say that bosses like the second boss and No Could are the most fun thing to heal, because like you actually have to like rotate your CDs and it's really dangerous, and it's like fun because you actually have to heal. I think it's just because healing was just so weird in Mythic Plus for a while that they just want to only DPS, but it's definitely split. Like people in the Mythic Plus community that are healers definitely want different things, and it's very, very split.
Well, we want augmentation evoker. That's what we want.
We need to call up a healer. 1 second. Oh, what's up, Grout?
What up?
Yo, you're in the middle of something right now, right?
No.
He's in a serious dungeon right now.
We need a quick take. We were like having a conversation and like just
you need a really bad take. You're like, who do we call?
Yeah, we need a really bad. We
need a healer take.
Yeah,
specifically.
we're ranking affixes and we came up to bursting, and we realized that none of us are healers, so we probably don't have the best take on how good or bad it is.
With all affixes in mind.
I like bursting. I think bursting gets frustrating in pugs because people don't care about it. But I think it's like fine. Like as far as affixes go, like I wouldn't really call it like that fun, but I'd give it like like a tier list going.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The top rank is F, and then it just goes down from there. We don't have any.
We figured we can't put every affix in F, so like if we there's no S tier, so
I think a solid G could fit.
Yeah,
for
I think
this one.
a high G.
High
I think
G.
a high G.
Above Volcanic, you think?
It's about Volcanic, where it's like it's fine. It's fine. Like if there have to be affixes, then I think it's like fine. The big problem with bursting that some people might disagree with is that it actually changes a lot depending on healer power in the pad and like damage and stuff. Like sometimes bursting, especially early in expansions, is really, really nasty, and other times it's not too bad at all. So I'm doing like an average here, but there are definitely some patches where bursting was really rough.
Yeah, it's actually very true. Like usually end of expansion, bursting is just like a chill, fun, non-affix.
All right. Thank you, Kat.
All right, good luck.
Yep. See ya.
I genuinely love that your tier list starts with F. By the way,
We had to.
That's
Well,
such a good
we,
That was Dratnos'
like
idea.
it made it makes no sense. It's the exact same thing than if you just did a regular tier list. But we noticed that when it started right away, the entire chat was like, everything's an F. So it's like if we had a slightly better affix in whatever the S tier was, this would have been nonstop complaining. So it was a very, very good idea.
all right, nice. Anyway, good luck, guys. Thanks for
All
the
right,
invite.
see you, man. All right, now we have Raging. So so Raging used to be where they would get real mad. Was it double the damage? 100%
It
more?
was initially. It got nerfed down to 75 and then 50, I believe.
And then
Yeah,
now...
it was 100% and it was not dispellable.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, initially it wasn't soothable, right? That was a
Yeah.
that was a change as well.
So now it is soothable, and instead of increasing their damage at all, it just makes them unable to be CC'd. How do you guys just in general like the change this season after one season of it being different?
I think it's worse.
I agree.
Like
Really?
the damage is actually if the damage was more manageable, but like now that you can't CC mobs, it just makes deadly things extra deadly.
I think there's fewer packs where it impacts you, but the packs where it does are so nasty.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah, it's either a
also
non-affix or it's like a major affix.
before, if you didn't have a soothe too, it was still manageable. Like you always had the solution
Right.
in most pulls to kite or deal with it in another way, or stop them, right? And now it's there. If you don't have an enraged dispel, it's actually just fucked. So I can kind of see it being much worse. What does the chat take? This is a mid IO only in parentheses somewhere from 1 to 2K or 2.5K.
Mid-core players.
Yeah, they're saying I.
I can get behind that.
I or H, G.
A lot of G. No, only one G. I'm seeing a lot of H's, a lot of I's. You guys were leaning I, right? Like it's worse now?
Yeah, I would put this in I. I think it's not far away from being like a G though. I think if you lost raging when a CC tried to get applied to you, and it just took away your raging instead, I think that would be such a good affix.
Oh, like it aids. The
Yeah,
CC,
just
but then,
it,
like,
it handled one.
Oh,
stack
that's
of
so
CC.
smart. Why the fuck is that not in the game? So your idea is a soothe gets rid of it, but what also gets rid of it is the first CC that it blocks. So
Yeah, exactly. Like you sweep when they all rage, and they don't get stunned, but they all lose raging.
Bro, that is such a good idea. That is an insanely good idea. Okay, that is... I think that is just way better than what they have currently. All right, new one, Entangling, the second of the 3 new affixes they just implemented. I was really positive on this going into the season. Like, I tried it on PTR, and I went through it, and I'm like, man, that sounds kind of annoying for some people, but if you look at the way that classes can get rid of it, almost all melee have an instant way to get rid of their roots. Most tanks have a way to instantly get rid of their roots. I would say for tanking, it's arguably seemed like potentially the worst one, because sometimes you're in a position where you want to keep mobs still, and you have to kind of move out of it, worst case scenario. But people are saying F because it's easy, but do you guys think it's good?
I think it is easy, and so people are liking it more because of that. But I do think it's the right kind of like it's actually sometimes it comes up and it matters, but it's never like impossible to deal with. There are some fights where it's like annoying, but I like this affix. This affix for me is also It's an F, and I think it would even potentially be good enough to go higher than F.
Oh my God.
No shot. It's
Are
hard.
you
Affix is
saying?
good.
Oh my God,
I
are you
think F
saying
is,
that
like, yeah.
that something could be a D?
I think maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm just one person.
Oh my God.
If Dorki
my
hates
God.
it, then we can average.
I think it can have major problems.
Oh, it's E.
but,
E in shambles. Okay, that's not our fault. That's blame the education system. That's them that did that. They've been skipping E for years.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Blame the education system for not teaching us the alphabet. Come
Yeah.
on.
Okay, did any of you guys go to a school where you could get an A, B, C, D, and then before you got an F, you got a fucking E?
Oh yeah.
Ain't no way.
Yeah, that's true.
It goes straight to F.
That's very true.
E in the world of tier lists actually doesn't exist.
What the fuck is an E?
Okay, so we're ranking this up here, and because this is all relative. Again, still some people in chat don't get it. They're like, why isn't everything at the bottom? Like, we get it, right? That's just
This is the bottom.
It's
We're just
within
starting from the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. On to Sanguine. I'm assuming this is the worst,
Bro,
right?
this is literally the worst. Yeah, there cannot be an affix. Actually, maybe it can be,
Yeah,
but it's bad.
yeah.
Unequivocally bad all around.
So the only positive thing I have to say about Sanguine is it is really hard to deal with well, or in the context of MDI TGP, it really separates, especially in the MDI historically, it really separates the like top teams from even the good teams. And that was like some positive aspect of it is that, but if you were to ask those teams, even the ones that were really good at it, they just didn't like doing it. They were like, oh fuck, this map is Sanguine, right? And that should tell you everything, that just no one likes doing this. And strangely, it was probably the most impactful affix when they did the nerfs at the beginning of season 2, but it was the one that they didn't really change at all. And the fact that it's only gotten worse, right? It used to be a lot easier in Legion. It like lasted longer, but it took way longer to arm, right?
It had a smaller radius, a smaller arm time, and or a longer arm time. It didn't stack as well. Yeah, a much easier affix back then.
Yeah. Is there any other context to add other than what would you guys do to change it? I don't know.
For me, I would say there's an experience you can have with Sanguine, speaking in its defense, that's like, sometimes you can feel like you really owned as a tank if you get a nice, like, 0 Sanguine healing key. But the process of doing that is so effort intensive, and it's not like, it feels arbitrary sometimes, whether a stupid mob decides to cast or not, or your DPS decide to kill it when it's about to cast, or any of those sorts of things. I would say like once every 6 months or a year or something, I have a fun experience in a Sanguine dungeon.
That's a great take, Dratnos.
But like,
I
have to do way more
too.
than one every 6 months, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, because like the appeal of Sanguine, like I know people are always gonna get ragey about it, is that it can actually be fun for tanks if you're having to deal with Sanguine. Like you feel like you're fucking owning when you play Sanguine really well.
Of course, the point of affixes from the very beginning is it gives you a fun problem to solve. If you just do the dungeon alone, there's a bunch of problems to solve within that, but the affixes provide a unique problem to solve every week. I think obviously over time it's been proven that like it's not nearly as good at that, and a lot of them aren't actually interesting to solve. They're just annoying. Like ideally they're there. You want them to be easier, but like you have to think about the way you do. That's actually why I personally kind of like Afflicted.
Yeah, it's a very engaging affix, pretty much, but maybe a little bit too engaging.
But that's only for a couple of people. It's only for the tank ever. Sometimes it's for like a monk, like a Windwalker, or Mistweaver.
Well, no, I don't fully agree with that. I think it's a group effort thing. I think it's like, all right, people can use stuns here. Like, the Holy Paladin could have hodged at a prime time, taunt the mob out. There are like so many different ways you engage with the affix at a higher level, or like when you think about it. But problem is like nobody wants to think about it, and everyone just wants to do damage.
Also,
an
issue with affixes in general, and more. This has been more talked about with seasonal affixes. Is the reward of feeling like you solved a problem, and the punishment of doing it wrong, not adding up or being equal. Like Thundering, for example, the punishment was fucking crazy, and that was the main thing wrong with that affix. The punishment of doing Sanguine wrong is like you want to pull your hair out, right?
Yeah, and again, it feels so arbitrary because it's like, oh, you screwed this up on a mob that happens to be CC immune, or like that happens to have twice the base health of these other mobs. Your punishment is triple as bad. It's like, okay, that doesn't feel proportionate to the size of the error that I made.
Yeah, Dorki, you would have been in absolute hell, by the way. You know that pull you do in Freehold, the one where you like have the dudes go up on the post and you pull all those mobs and you like kite them around in a circle or whatever? those mobs have I think there's 8 different health pools in that pull. Have you done that pull on Sanguine?
No, but I can only imagine how bad it is.
It would be so like you would just have everything would just be dying.
Yeah, I mean, just
everything.
like literally any like big pull is like generally awful.
So we're leaving this in the worst, right? I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if it's 2 tiers below raging. I feel like some people might argue that it would be, but it's definitely.
Well, I mean, the worst
26
is the
letters we
worst.
could use, but I think it is the worst. Yeah.
Okay. Now we
Also,
have
for our solution, I feel like if they just what if you took more the enemies did more damage in the pool, that way like it doesn't affect your timer.
or you can
They
soak
could
the
even get a
pool.
damage reduction and a damage done increase in it or something. But like as soon as you pull it out, that stops.
Yeah, just like something that
Yeah.
doesn't like drastically slow down your keys. So something, you know, maybe more along the lines of like raging.
Can you? What if you could soak Sanguine?
Yeah, it just did damage to you. Like I feel like every time it ticks on any target, if it got smaller, that would be great for it too.
Yeah, like you basically, if you were like, oh no, Sanguine's about to be a problem, you don't need to soak Sanguine, but you could do it in a pinch to make mobs not heal.
The thing is, like, almost any drop of healing makes it a bad affix. Like, I feel like they've tried to solve this affix so many times, but it'll always be bad as long as it heals the mobs.
Yeah.
Simply because it slows down the timer, and there's no other affixes that like affect your timer to that degree.
Has there ever been an affix that involved mobs healing that was good in any way? Infested,
No.
the Sanguine, right? Like they're kind of. I guess there's not a huge sample size, but they're universally. I guess you could technically consider bolstering. Old bolstering is kind of healing the mobs, like it wasn't really, but
Not
they
a
were-
good affix though.
Yeah, also very bad affix. Yeah. And speaking of that, on to not removed but reworked bolstering. It no longer gives them massive amounts of health when they get stacks of bolstering, but they do extra damage. I thought people would like this a lot more because the health part was so annoying, but that really goes to show how bad bolstering is because people still hate this thing, and by far the worst part of it was removed. So I don't know. What's your
Yeah, it's
what's your
been
thought?
nerfed so many times. I feel like this has to be one of the affixes that like doesn't affect the lower end as much, but affects higher end more. I could be wrong, but
I think that's accurate.
That's accurate.
Because in
Yeah, 'cause,
lower
like-
end, like this scales with the size of your pulls, right? The bigger you're pulling and the closer you are to them already being dangerous enemies, the more this affix is felt.
Well-
If you're just kind of doing a weekly no lever, it's not gonna matter that much.
Well, not to mention that the health difference between people doing weekly no lever and you all at a high level is not actually that large, especially in this season. And things are only tuned to like start one-shotting you near that level. So when you over bolster something at a low level, it's probably still not going to kill you as much. Where if you over bolster something or really bolster anything at a high level that's a dangerous mob, you're just going to die. So it's by default less impactful as a scaling thing in a lower level key.
Yeah, like something like the enforcers in the first few pulls of freehold is, you know, you are just going to die if those have some bolstering stacks on them.
Yeah.
Especially fort bolstering, which is an abomination.
Well,
Yeah.
what would your all's rank have been for this before they changed it? Do you think it would have been worse than current Sanguine?
oh yeah, I would have been.
I think it was the worst. I would be willing to put it in I now, but I would also still be fine with the worst.
Well, there can only be the worst, so I think I's fine.
There's multiple things that can be the worst, but yeah, I mean, if you want to say that Sanguine, do you feel like Sanguine is significantly worse than every other?
I feel like Sanguine is worse. Yeah.
Okay, so
agree.
then nothing to talk about. All right, I deleted D, by the way. We're not going up there.
All right, yeah. If Entangling's not up there, then ain't nothing up there.
Okay, now we have Incorporeal, the other new affix. This was way worse in PTR testing for this, right? Because it like wasn't capped, and they could like an infinite amount of them could spawn or something like that. And I think you could also
Oh, imagine having to deal with that.
and you could also damage them too. Like you could break them out of CC that people put on them. So it was like really fucking bad when they brought it out. What do you guys think of it now?
So I have some similar problems with this as with Afflicted, where it's like there are some pulls where this is requiring you to use a resource that you might already be spread thin on. And I also have problems of there's some classes and specs that have good ways of handling this, and there are some that are really a lot worse, which again, like it's okay if there's a few affixes like that, but it's unfortunate that, you know, warriors, for instance, continue to often be the one that has it worst.
Yeah, warriors are trending near hunter territory of feeling completely useless. Like they still have like a raid buff, but what their class can do is just so limited in PvE right now.
Also, if this goes off, it's way worse than Afflicted going off.
What's the penalty for this?
50% less damage and healing.
Ooh.
Yeah, whereas Afflicted is the haste debuff.
Yeah, fuck a haste. Who cares? For some people, at least.
Brewmaster gang.
Yep. So you think this is worse than Afflicted? This is in the I tier.
I would probably have it in the same tier as Afflicted, but I'm not super confident.
Yeah, it's very similar. I don't know if it's necessarily better or worse. They're very similar for sure.
What would you guys do to fix Incorporeal?
All right.
Just make it so that if you stun it, it goes away or something.
Yeah, I love the idea of just one stun or something and it's gone forever.
Or just kick it, yeah.
My theory, so I have a medium-sized rework that I'd propose for this, which is to make it a personal spawn. So instead of 2 Incorporeals spawning for the group, whenever Incorporeal spawns, it's like an Incorporeal spawns for 1 person or 2 people in the group, and only they can see it, and if it goes off, only they get affected by it, and they have to deal with it.
Ooh,
and
I
then
like that
more
a lot.
abilities can deal with it as well.
It's like the spark.
I really
make
like
I feel
it
like there's so much implication behind Vetful. I'd be afraid.
But the thing
I would to clarify, I would want to make sure that like any stun full handled it, and like every class kit had like 3 or 4 buttons that would solve that.
I mean,
My biggest worry is like if you're actually doing it, and then say like you have assigned kicks, or you're trying to like stop certain things, and then it's like Incorp spawns, and then like everyone has to get their own Incorp, but then
I don't think I think 5 spawning for the whole group at once.
That would be bad. Yeah, you're still getting
Yeah,
the same amount of them. It's just like people see their own personally, and they have to deal with it. And if they fuck it up, everyone doesn't have a big punishment. It's like just that player, and the punishment could also be smaller. But it would be, like you said, if any stun, root, any CC could get rid of it, almost every class would be able to. I think that might be a little bit more interactive. It would be better than it is now. I don't know if that would make it good.
Yeah, it would definitely be slightly better. It feels like.
I think the smaller fix of just making a stun handle it forever is also a good starting point.
Is it also not... Could they increase visibility on this? Like, is there a world where it's easier to see when these are up? Like, I know like sometimes they can be like stuck behind certain things. You don't actually even know how many are out or where they are. Is that Afflicted? It's one of these two.
I think having a sound cue helps a lot. So that's something that seasonal affixes always have, which made sense for seasonals because there's a lot of flavor behind them and they're supposed to be thematic. Is like, say whenever reaping spawns, right? It would make like some noise. I don't remember how it went exactly. It was like some like whispering type of noise.
One Somdi would taunt you, yeah.
Yeah, and having something like that would probably help a lot, just so people know that there's an Afflicted up.
All right, storming. Is that what this one is? The little tornadoes. Okay, so as melee and a tank player only, I think this shit is fucking... I hate this shit. But
Bro, this shit is the most annoying affix.
But it's easy, though, so it's like, you take it, but oh my god, is it fucking annoying. Specifically for tanks. I think it's way worse for tanks than it is for melee, actually. Like,
oh, yeah, like strictly tank take? Bro, this shit is fucking the worst.
Yeah, I think that this one is not adding much to the game. It's making the weeks more unfun than fun, and it should be taken away. But in comparison to these other affixes, in the similar way where it's like, Spiteful only really affects melee, Storming affects melee a little bit, and tanks a lot. Like, it's not that bad for much of the group. It exists on a lot of good weeks. A lot of people can have fun because they're not affected by this affix. I would be fine. I'd be fine with G for this, but it is still like
there's like nothing redeeming about this at all.
G.
There's nothing redeeming.
Yeah, I'd be fine with H as well.
Yeah, I think it's closer to Spiteful. It's like pretty similar to Spiteful.
Actually,
if you count for difficulty too, it's a little bit easier. So
I was about to say it's about the same level of annoyance as Spiteful, but it's clearly easier. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think, is that entirely true? Because there are definitely dungeons where.
Dude, if we don't put it in H, this is gonna look so shit. Have you thought about that?
That's
oh
true.
Yeah, we gotta get that nice.
Yeah, it looks like a big middle finger to the affixes in general, but like if we put it up here, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually
I think it's got to go in H. Yeah,
there we go.
That is the only way.
Wow, that is clean.
Let's fucking go.
That's how you tier list, baby.
Except this one's at the top. That is, yeah, you got nice symmetry. So if you guys were Blizzard, so removing all affixes is off the table, making affixes positive, kiss curse, all the major changes that, if anything, are going to be next expansion and announced at BlizzCon. I guess we'll know pretty soon, or an idea of it. If you guys are a Blizzard developer tasked with changing affixes for next season, where do you start?
Yeah, I've already given my ideas, but I don't know. They're definitely not going to go down that route.
What is your idea?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I said in the past, like at the very beginning of Shadowlands or whatever.
Bro, that's
or
a long
Dragonflight,
time ago. Oh, okay.
Where I was like making the affixes more. I don't want to say kiss curse, but reward players for playing them properly.
So what, you CC your personal incorporeal like Dratnos' idea and you get what, some resource back, a 5% damage increase, like what, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, like the one I liked the most was like inspiring. Oh, if you kill an inspired mob, it demoralizes all the mobs and makes them take additional damage or makes them do reduced damage. That way you can like feel rewarded for playing the affix properly. But there's no way they ever go down that route because they feel like it's gonna make keys too easy or
That's also I think
is not challenging.
that's also super like transformative. Like I just think like
Yeah.
even if it's as simple as remove this, bring this back, nerf this, where do you guys start?
So I mean, just strictly looking at this, like what makes an affix good right now? It's literally just how much less impactful it is or how much easier it is. So by just like
Correct.
simply making these affixes easier or just like making them more manageable is already a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah, I would just do like one nerf to all of the affixes except for the top 3 of like Sanguine disappears as it starts healing, Bolstering, I don't know, man, cut it in half in duration and or magnitude, Raging, make it go away after 1 stun, Incorporeal and Afflicted probably harder to solve than just one change to them. Spiteful, I don't know, slower, make them slower or something. Make them get knocked away when you damage them, like Enchanted Emissaries did. And then Storming, I think, shouldn't knock you up if you soak it in the first, like, 2 seconds after it spawns.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. Did you see JV's message?
Yeah.
3 tank players not putting Spiteful S tier. Okay.
I mean, Spiteful, as annoying as it is, it's still considered an easy affix, so you can only rank it so low.
True. Okay. All right, I'm pretty happy with this. I actually really think a lot about, because I remember asking this question one time. I'll actually ask it again. If Mythic Plus existed this season and there's absolutely no affixes, nothing is different from week to week, there's no tyrannical, no fortified, no affixes, do you guys think Mythic Plus is better or worse? Gotten pretty interesting answers to this. You never have to wait for a push week. You can log in at any time. Like, the dungeons never change. You just straight up you log in on Tuesday. It's the same dungeons as you logged in last Tuesday. They still scale in key level. The key system still works the same. Everything. What is the game worse or better?
I feel like it's worse.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree. I think it's worse.
I think so. There would have to be
It's sort of like the whole
something-
seasonal thing. Remember how we
Right.
talked about
Like we've just spent this whole time talking about how bad each of the affixes individually are, but the fact that affixes exist and make weeks different from each other and make it so that you have, a different experience from one week to another, even if it's jumping from one annoying affix to another one, I think it is still better than just you play for a couple weeks at the start of the season and then nothing has changed for the rest of the season, and so you don't log in again.
Yeah, so you basically want to rotate between a lot of non-impactful affixes that slightly change the way you play every week, but you never want it to border on annoying. Basically, anytime it becomes annoying, I mean, because here's what is currently true. People who are like pushing high keys, right? They do this as a job. There's a lot of people stream, so like it is in their best interest to like stream Dorki, right? It is best interest to stream high keys all the time. It's where he probably, I'm assuming, gets the most viewership, and also you're doing what you like doing a lot. The fact
this is my job.
The fact that people don't play on certain weeks because of certain affixes, I think that's less of an issue now than it used to be, certainly. But the fact that that exists at all should be like some alarm should go off. Like, Wii U, people don't want to play the game because of something. Okay, probably look at that thing right away, right? But I remember them saying, and I don't remember when this was years ago. They said that, because I remember everyone used to complain about Tyrannical. What was the expansion where Tyrannical was especially egregious? Was it like, it was before they nerfed it. Was it BFA?
I mean, I would even say there's ever since the beginning, like Legion was real bad. Like, back in Legion, you didn't play a singular Tyrant week. Like it was
okay. So
yeah, but it was
literally
new.
Not playable.
We didn't talk about it as much. It was during BFA where it was like, man, there were some seasons where it was literally no push weeks on Tyran, but like the concept of a push week existed, which it didn't in Legion.
So one thing that I found really interesting is I remember speaking to someone who knew these kind of like statistics and information, and like it's not like a interview response that they would just make up to sound, but they were like, our internal data shows, even when this is back then when people were complaining about this stuff, they said their internal data did not show any difference in the amount of dungeons people were doing on Tyrannical and Fortified, and I immediately was like,
What?
That
That's
sounds
fake.
that sounds so
Well, no,
not
it was
true.
way true for the weekly 15s though, right?
Exactly,
Like, Tyrant
yeah.
is more fun in the 15s.
Yeah, so it's
than-
massive.
were
It's
only 15s.
massively true or not true for like the high end, but the high end is such a small percentage of the total amount of people doing these things that Blizzard did not see a big swing either
but
way.
there was literally like, I'm pretty sure there were like radar out data or whatever that showed significant drop off every Tyrant week.
It'd be a good thing for someone to compile stats for. I just know that I had someone tell me that is not known for making things up or saying wrong things.
Yeah, I'm like pretty certain radar had this. I remember seeing something where it was like an up and down based off of Fortified and Tyrant. I mean, maybe it's not the same anymore because Tyrant is actually like significantly
Yeah.
more in line
This
now.
was a long time ago.
Yeah.
As a tank, I'd rather Tyrannical every week. Bro, holy shit. As a tank, I could not possibly disagree more. But I know that other...
He
Like,
just wants easier affix. That's pretty much it.
yeah. I just...
Like, to a lot of people, for affixes, easier equals better. It's the
Yeah.
biggest thing I've noticed. Also, the worst part is Blizzard saying how they're not going to do any affix reworks this season.
When they just did it, yeah.
That's a real bummer.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. It seems like throughout the patches, 10.1 or 10.0 to 10.1, the like 0.0.5, 0.0.7, that stuff had significantly more content than like 10.1.5 and 10.1.7 had. And then they also were doing a bunch of dungeon stuff then. That's clearly slowed down. They did affix changes. They're clearly not doing that. Like, I think the obvious answer is they're preparing a lot of stuff for the expansion, especially to announce it at BlizzCon, I think. Or maybe this happens normally in an expansion, and I'm not really used to thinking of it that way. But yeah, it definitely seems like it's taken a bit of a
I
fall
mean,
off.
it's not like they even have to do that much. You don't need like a complete rehaul. Like, literally just do something about Sanguine. It's such a problem, and I don't see how they don't see it. They could do literally anything to Sanguine to alleviate it a bit, but nothing is being done. Bro, speaking of majority of players don't interact with affixes or whatever in Plus, I saw this Bellier video. I was looking at the comments, and holy fuck, I didn't know this subset of player played. There were like an overwhelming amounts of upvoted comments that were saying they should remove the timer from M Plus and saying how like we are too rushed. We want to be able to take our time in dungeons and appreciate the art and design. And it sucks how the developers design these dungeons and it just like it's a speed run
Yeah,
thing.
dude, I remember
And that
back in Legion,
blew my mind.
God King Scoval gave a whole good, story, and they took that away when they brought back Halls of Valor this time, and that made me really sad.
No, people are saying they
Yeah,
don't
and,
play
like-
the game. A large majority of WoW doomers don't play the game, but I bet a lot of those people actually do feel that way, that are WoW players, and I've noticed this in other games. I remember, like, Final Fantasy had really good dungeons, but then I think they've come out with some kind of, like, harder dungeon mode now, Criterion or whatever. But back then they didn't have that, and I was like, man, it would actually be really fun to, like, speed run these dungeons. And I was like, what would something like Mythic Plus look like in this game? And the response was immediately very negative. I could tell that most of it was like, WoW does this, so this game shouldn't do it. But they ended up doing something like that. But I know the biggest thing that they said was, I'd be okay with it as long as it wasn't timed. They all said that. The whole fucking chat was like, I'm down for it. They can have harder dungeons in this game, but they should never have timers. And I find that really interesting because a lot of the timers are like super lenient. I think maybe, are they referring to depleting? Because depleting is a pretty big
No,
punishment.
I think it's more so that like they want dungeons to be like, an experience where you could just like go in there and you're like taking your time. Like they just want it to feel like a dungeon. It's kind of hard to explain, but like
There's a pressure
M+
that is
doesn't feel
added
like
by a
dungeon.
timer, right? That
Yeah.
makes it like a...
It becomes a failing or succeeding
Yeah, it's
thing.
like queuing up for a game of League rather than like going and doing a classic dungeon, right? Where it's like...
Yeah, like it doesn't matter if you take an hour and a half to 2 hours to do it and it's really, really hard for you. At some point you completed it, but if you deplete the key, it's like you failed. So for a lot of those people, it just makes it's just a negative experience doing keys. And I bet there's a lot of people like that for sure. Dude, most of every game is absolutely filled with civilians, and they're the ones who pay all the bills. So I'm sure some of the stuff you saw was people just complaining, but I bet a lot of that was true. Gotta let the dads game.